Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before we get started, doing this new, I guess, housekeeping, as they sometimes say, be sure to check out the Homeschool Your Kids Expo.com website to check out our schedule for this year's 2025 Expo tour. We have 13 states left. We've already visited Virginia, and that was awesome. So next stop is Florida. I don't know when this will be released, so I'll be trying not to say where, but check out the website for our schedule. And big shout out to Classical Conversations, one of our proud sponsors this year. So boom, boom, boom. All right, Nick, introduce yourself.
Yeah, all right. My name is Nick Robinson. I am the homeschool helper.
Yes, a homeschool helper. How do we get to be in homeschool helper?
How did I get to do it, or how do y'all?
Yes,
Yeah,
you.
so
Yeah.
good question. No, so we've been doing Classical Conversations, one of your great sponsors, who we love, for a long time, and right around, I think it was like the year after COVID started, where everything was still kind of weird, and we were just still home a lot. My wife and I were just looking for extra resources and stuff, supplemental stuff to help like get through the day, and we tried to find some video stuff and just really wasn't out there. And so I was like, why don't I just make some things that we can use? And so I did, and they were real simple and basic. And some people suggested that I like share them with other people, and so I started putting them out on the YouTubes, and people seem to really respond really quickly to it. And it's just become something that we love doing that helps out different homeschool communities, CC being one of them. And it's just been so much fun. I've always loved making videos and doing crazy songs, and so it's just really worked for us and for a lot of other people.
Nice. Okay. So your homeschool journey started during COVID.
No, our homeschool, thankfully, no, we were already prepared when that hit. We'd been doing homeschooling since, man, my daughter was in first grade and she's in ninth grade now. So it's been however many years that is. It's been a minute. And we've
Okay,
been doing
cool.
classical conversations the whole time. Yeah.
All right. So she did kindergarten, then she made it to first grade, and I was like, nah.
So it's kind of an interesting story. I'm a youth pastor, and so we were at a church that had a school attached to it that they sponsored, and so they offered us a full scholarship to just go to that school when my daughter hit kindergarten. And so she did kindergarten there, and honestly, she loved it. It was a great experience for her, and we loved it as well. But then that school shut down and stopped
Oh man.
school. And so we were looking around at our area and we were not excited about the public school options. We couldn't really afford any other private school options. And to be honest, we kind of threw our hands up in the air and we're like, what are we supposed to do? Because at the time, we wouldn't have even considered homeschooling because we just assumed they were a bunch of weirdos and we didn't want to be growing our kids up with a bunch of weirdos that don't know how to talk to people and don't have friends. And so, because both my wife and I, we grew up going to like she went to that same private school that my daughter went to for a year, all of her life, and then my dad was in the Air Force, so I grew up going to schools on military bases, and so homeschoolers were weirdos in our circle. And so,
Mm.
luckily, God placed a few people around us that were able to kind of show us, like, hey, you know what, this is a real option that's not just for crazy people. And so honestly, it took like a day of really looking into it and talking to some people for our eyes to kind of be open to the possibility. And so we met with some different folks about it, and we just sort of dove right in and did it that first year without a CC community. Which first grade, one kid, the other two were at home as well. It was kind of hard, but not that hard. Just because it's just the first year. And so then after that, when our second kid was going to have to start too, we realized we needed a community. We needed more. And so again, God had just placed the right people around us, and there were some great CC people that kind of guided us into this community, and we did it, and we loved it, and we've been doing it ever since.
Nice. That is so funny talk. So, okay. first, let me share because I talked about this yesterday when I was recording too. Reddit. Have you ever looked at the homeschool conversations on Reddit?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I get alerts for I don't know how, but you know how that internet stuff works. Either way, I get emails when like certain homeschool groups have posted, and some of them are like so terrible, like as far as their experiences or how they feel about homeschooling. And I'm like, Dad, I haven't ran into those yet. Like, you know, the ones that are like, oh, yeah, no, homeschooling, I had the worst experience. Da, 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 da. And even the homeschoolers I came across that came into the classroom after maybe being homeschooled all of, you know, all the way till eighth grade or however long,
Yeah.
they were fine. But I see the most like absurd things on Reddit. Like the people are so upset about homeschooling. I'm like, okay, those are the ones that they'd be talking about then. Because
Yeah, no,
you hear about them.
there's some rough communities out there that are doing it, and typically what we've noticed when it gets kind of weird is the ones that are just like so incredibly strict and
Mm,
rigorous, and then they expect everyone they're in community with to be exactly the same, and then it becomes judgmental and it becomes legalistic even, and it can scare people off. Like we definitely know people that that's been their experience and they've come into our community and they just feel so refreshed. And even just people that
nice.
respond to stuff that I put out there, like people that I'll talk to on comments and stuff, there's a lot of just like horror stories out there.
Right.
Communities just putting so much pressure on people to be something that we don't think that you have to be a homeschooler. Like being homeschooling is not to be perfect or not to be removed from the world, which a lot of communities are still all about. But it's really about freedom in our experience. Like it's about the freedom to school your kids the way you think is best and not the way other people think you should be doing it. And it's really about freedom for us. And that's one of the things we love about it. But not everybody feels that way.
Right. So that's what I was gonna say. How did you get to debunking the whole, okay, homeschoolers are weird? Like you
That's a
became
good
one and you was
question.
like, okay, we're not weird.
You know, it's funny, and this goes into a different story, but just again for us, it's been just God has been moving us on a pathway that um, has been revealing to us some of the truths that we never even thought were possible. Like before we homeschooled, you know, we had a situation with our son, our youngest, who when my wife was pregnant with him, I had actually just been let go from a position, so we lost our insurance and we did not know what to do as far as like how do we deliver this child without health insurance. We have to go to a hospital, right? So again, we had some friends that were like, you know, what if you don't go to a hospital? What if you have your kid at home like people had been doing for thousands of years before this? And we were like, you're crazy. That's for crazy people. We don't do things that crazy people do. We want our son to live. And so again, we just met with some people and talked about it and actually looked into it and we ended up using a midwife and we
Mm.
had our kid at home and it was terrifying and beautiful and weird, but it was the most beautiful thing we had done together up to that point. And
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, and so we were just our eyes were kind of open to different options like that. We didn't think that we no longer thought we had to constantly stay on that main road where everyone else was. That maybe some of those side roads that people that we knew and loved were going down weren't actually just for weird people.
I was
um,
gonna say, so y'all became weird.
we became one of the weirdos, and then when we realized that we looked around and said, oh, these people aren't that weird, they're actually really normal and good and believe and live out a lot of the things that we do. So it
Yes.
started to make more sense to look at the different paths instead of the constantly used ones.
Nice. I love that. And that's what I was trying to get to the weird, the aspect of because my
Yeah.
daughter calls herself weird all the time. And she likes when people call her weird, actually. She's like, I know.
I mean, yeah, it's true. We are weird. We are weird, but weird is often good. You know, weird doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like bad. It's just it's different, and a lot of times, different is what people really need.
But it comes to the freedom aspect that you talked about. It's the
Yeah,
freedom of being and creating the life that works for you and your family. And it
yeah.
doesn't have to look like the standard that everyone's so used to. Because it's like
No, no,
you don't realize that you're being shaped into something as opposed to just being yourself. It's like, oh,
no.
well,
That's so true. And one thing that we keep running into is because you know we didn't grow up like this. We grew up. in public school or private school where everybody's kind of being pushed through a very similar shaped box. And we catch ourselves sometimes putting that on our kids, but just because that's our own experience. Like for example, sometimes we'll catch ourselves comparing them to other kids' development, like other kids in our community. Like, why can't they read like Jonathan can read? I don't understand. And then we have to stop. Like, wait. That's the old way. We're not trying to make sure that they are the same as everybody else. They're going to read and move at their speed and their pace, and it's our job to keep pushing them down that path and not comparing them, because it's not a race. It's not a competition. Education is not competing with each other. It's just about your individual growth, and it's so silly to me when we look back at it and think, man, we really were taught that you have to be better than other people. Like that's what
Mm,
education was, is you got to be better than those people. And if you're not trying to be better, then you're going to get behind. And even that concept of like being behind, I'm like, behind what? Where's this magic ruler, like the starting point that we're all supposed to be ahead of? Like, who decided this? The government? Why are they deciding this? I don't need them to tell me where my kids should be in their educational development. That's my job. I'm the one
mm.
that knows them. I'm the one that lives with them and has seen them and watch them grow. Why don't I get to, you know, help them down that path instead of being told they should be at a certain level? I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that my wife and I rant about when we're by ourselves. But it's
Nice. No, those are good
true.
rants. Those are valid, valid,
Yeah,
valid rants. I promise. Um, Seeing like, okay, when I was in a public school system, I most of the kids that met me wherever, like seventh grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, they were not on that grade level, like by no means. So it was always a focus of mine of like meeting you where you were and making sure that by the time you left me, you had some kind of growth. That was all I could do, like really. Making sure that you were moving forward in some kind of way. And I feel like that's what it's all about, meeting the child where they're at and moving them forward.
absolutely. And that makes me think too, like I was a teacher for 2 years out of college because I really wanted to be an English teacher. I'd seen Dead Poet Society way too many times, and I think that's what I was supposed to be. But no, I remember my first year, I'm straight out of college, I'm super idealistic, and I'm assuming that these kids, like, because I was teaching high school, I was assuming that these kids were at a level because that's where I was taught they should be. And I remember getting my first like set of like papers back from these kids, and these were like, I remember this was the senior class English. They were awful. They were
Mm,
nobody could put a sentence together. Hardly anybody could spell anything correctly. And this was even in the days of spell check. They were like getting the right words, and they would like say, "No, that's not right," and they would like defeat spell check and say, "This is how to spell it." And just like I remember, there was this one group of kids. They all did their J's backwards. Like somebody had taught them to write the letter J like the wrong way, like their lowercase j would go right instead of left. And I was like, who, what is, like, I was just like, my mind was blown. Like, why are these kids not on the level that I think they should be on? And while that was disturbing, like, ultimately, it's not that big a deal. I needed to just meet them where they were instead of I was like standing way down the line saying, can y'all move up here, please? I should have just
right.
been right there with them, be like, okay, let's start with the letter J. Like I didn't need to, because I remember getting really frustrated and like asking my college professors, like, is this right? Is this really what should be going on? And it was crazy,
The stuff they don't prepare you for.
right?
But the
Nobody
thing
tells you that.
is,
Yeah,
Nick, it would not be an issue if it wasn't 13 years that a child has spent in a system. And
yeah,
to see, because my last couple years I taught 12th grade English too. So to see what equivalated out of 13 years, I tell people that's my driving, that's my passion. Like that's
yeah.
that's what fueled me to be like, oh yeah, no, we gotta do, but like this isn't cool. like
No, it's crazy.
like 13 years.
Yeah.
Like I would feel so disrespected if I was a reader, and like I was been a reader since I was like 4. So my, development way
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, your level is your level, and wherever someone is where they're at. However, if I was to have been solely dependent on a school system to install in me everything that I needed, and at the end of the road that's all I had, oh, I would have been pissed.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
have been hot. I used to say
Exactly.
I felt like some of the students' parents should sue the school system. Like, granted, it's a partnership, it should be a partnership, definitely should be a partnership, community whole wide. But to know 13 years later, this is where we're at, this is what I'm leaving here with. And then you talk to these young people and you realize how afraid they are, how frightened they are about their next journey. Like my set of seniors, my last set of seniors, they were not excited at all about graduation. They were fearful. They didn't know what they were going to do. They didn't have no plans for real. And it was just like a lot of them talking about going to college that don't even like to read. And I'm telling them, well, college is only reading and writing. That's all you do
Yeah,
there.
that's it.
And so it's like, okay, what do you do with that?
I don't know,
That's
and I find it like as a youth pastor, I'm around a lot of like high school seniors that are in school and all this stuff, and like it's the same. I hear the same silliness that I've been hearing my whole life of just like even the idea that high schoolers are constantly taught that college is going to be so hard. College is going to like you can't be turning in stuff like this in college. They'll kick you out. Like you can't show up late to class in college. They'll never let you come back. And then they go to college and they're like, "Why did everybody say this to me?" It's like they're
right.
stupid. Like they're not it's like unless they're going to like some Ivy League school where they're trying to be like mechanical engineers or whatever, like for the most part, that first year of college, those professors are trying to like ease you in. They're not trying to dump like 50, 20-page papers on you in the first semester. Like they're going to be reviewing. They're going to be going over a lot of the fundamentals, like teaching you how to be in college. Like it's actually it's not easy, but it's not nearly what I hear these kids being afraid that it's going to be. Um,
Yeah.
but so much I don't know why we keep leaning on that crutch of teachers is like this next level is going to be so hard. It's just it continues to perpetuate that idea that like again, and I keep harping on this that you've got to be on this particular track, and if you're not, then you're falling behind or you're in the wrong place. Like it's just not supposed to be like that. I don't believe
Yeah.
in this competitive spirit and in this like ingratiating of like everything that's next is going to be so much harder, and you've got to be prepared for it. I just get so frustrated with the idea of like teaching someone so that they can continue to be taught the next thing. Like, let's teach people the stuff that we're learning because what we're learning is beautiful and interesting and valuable. Like, I
Yes.
get that there's a certain level of like, if I'm teaching algebra to my kid, like, there's certain things that she's going to need to get so that when she moves up to the next level, she can do it. But at the same time, I don't want her to know that that's my focus, to be honest. I want her to know that this stuff is interesting and woven into our universe by a God that loved us and needed these things to work. And so I want to investigate, whether it's Shakespeare, algebra, chemistry, geography. I want to investigate it from the viewpoint of like, this is interesting and valuable and good for you to know. I don't want to teach it from this. You need to learn where Canada is so that next year when you go start studying Europe, you'll remember where Canada is. I don't want to do it like that. So much of what we love about education is like the heart behind it. Like we learn about these things not so we can get to the next level, but we learn about them because they're good and valuable and interesting. And what we've seen and what I'm hoping beyond hope is that when we teach this way, that our kids no longer like hate or fear education or school, but that they actually are interested in learning and want to know these things, and maybe we're just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks, but like we're really bought into this idea of like we're not learning this so that it's easier tomorrow. We're learning this so that you can know it and like see that it's good and see that we have a God that put beautiful things in the world, even if they're complicated and weird, they're still beautiful.
Yes, I love that. The arts of getting young people to fall in love with learning,
Mm.
and understanding that they are life learners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that quite often.
It's hard. It's harder. It's harder with certain subjects, like we do Latin because CC told us to, and we do Latin. But man, if I can just be honest, it's a struggle with Latin. We struggle hard with it. Like the kids are constantly bothered with the question of why do I need this? And even though I think I know the answer sometimes, like sometimes I just have to say because it's good, because it's interesting, because it's something you don't know, and those are always good things to add to your brain. But sometimes it's just hard. and you don't want to. And it's like you fight that every day of like, I don't want to teach my kids the second declension noun endings today, but like, sometimes it's a slog and you got to push through. But like, it's a spectrum. Like everything is, it's hard. It's hard
Eh,
sometimes, man. It's hard. Ugh.
indeed, indeed. What does your day look like? You have three total?
Yeah. Yeah, we have three, a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old who's about to turn 13, which means I will now have two teenage daughters in my house. And then we have, yep. And then we have our son Cash, who is 10. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, our day. So Mondays is when we do our community day, and so that's where all three of us we go. I teach the Challenge One class, which is like freshmen, um, on Mondays, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're home. We wake up. We usually get up around 9. One of the things, well, we don't get up right now. We start around 9, but that's another thing we love about homeschooling is like the leisurely mornings, like in public school or whatever school, like mornings are chaotic. It's like get them up, get them fed, get them packed, get them out. Um, and we kind of lean into not having to do that, and so we really don't get started until about 9. We usually wake up around 8:15. We do a little Bible discussion together around 8:30, and then about 9 o'clock we get into what everybody's doing for the day. And some days we're both able to be home. Some days it's just my wife. Wednesdays are my day when I'm by myself, usually with the kids, and so it's usually we're done around 1 or 2. My son gets done a lot earlier, but then the other two they have more to do, and so but it's we're all at table together and we're working through it. And one of the weird struggles that we have with one of my oldest daughter is that she's grown so independent that she doesn't like I'll be sitting right next to her and she'll be doing her math and I'll get the little math report like in an email and I'm sitting right next to her and it shows that she got like 4 things wrong and I'm like, Kate, I'm right here. All you have to do was say, hey dad, I don't understand this. And she's like, I know, but I just didn't want I wanted to get it done and I didn't want to bother you. And I was like, no, honey, you got it. That's why I'm here. That's what we're doing is we're doing this together. It's silly, but yeah, I mean we're right there with them all day at the table working together. We try to take little walk breaks as often as we can, where we get them outside, especially our younger daughter Harper. She's got an attitude on her, and we love it, and we're positive that one day it's gonna grow into like her running a company or something. But occasionally she needs to go outside and let the sun hit her skin to really kind of alter, like bring her back to a workable place.
Mm.
Like we just had to do that yesterday, but yeah, like we really do. It's not an easy day. Like homeschooling, nobody should ever tell anybody that homeschooling is easy because it is not. It is complicated. It is nuanced, but it is good and it is beautiful. And we love it. Those moments where they just click, like where my son will finally understand how to divide fractions. Like yesterday, we didn't. I was like, all right, bud, we got this problem. What are you gonna do? And he stopped and he looked at it and he thought and then he flipped the terms on the other side and he did it and he was right and we like celebrated and he was so excited because he actually did it without anybody helping him. There's those moments, and then there's also the moments where your daughter just says no when you say, "Can you turn the page?" You got to go walk outside for a little while. It's it's a crazy life that we've chosen to live, but we love it. We love it.
Indeed. Is classical conversations the only curriculum you're using?
So no, we from our youngest and our middle daughter, we use a different math. Like, well, obviously because they don't really, well, they have put out a math. I don't want to get into it. It's it's a situation. But no, so we use Good and the Beautiful, which is another one
Mhm.
that we love. My youngest is he's been on that most of his life. And we do obviously we use all the classical conversation stuff for my oldest daughters. But my middle daughter doesn't use Saxon, which Cece usually suggests. She also does Good and the Beautiful. But so I guess our oldest is the only one that only uses CC curriculum, but the rest of them we use a couple other things.
Okay, nice. Supplementing where you need, see fit.
Yeah, Nicole the
Um,
math lady. Nicole the math lady. Do you know about?
I
Nicole.
have heard of Nicole, the math lady.
We
Yes.
love Nicole, the math lady. She is the
Nice.
best.
Nice.
We do not do, neither of us are math geniuses or even math normals. And so we found her, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe four now. It's been a while. And yeah, she is a godsend. Um, that's so helpful because she is able to take all these concepts that would take double or triple the time for us to get through. Um, and so we love her. She's so helpful. Um,
Nice.
best. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I tried to get Nicole up here. She kind of busy. So
She is. That's true. She's
like,
doing
I'm gonna
great.
try again. I'm gonna try again this year. So no worries.
Don't
But
quit
yeah,
on
no,
her.
I definitely have
You'll
come
get her.
across her. So do y'all do tutoring with her? Like what is it? How does that look with her?
Yeah, so basically, right now, only my oldest daughter is using her, but at one point we had all three. But essentially, you know, she follows that Saxon math book.
Mm,
And every lesson, she has a set of videos that you pull up and she walks you through all the concepts. Sometimes we got to watch them twice to really let it sink in, but they're not that long. They're like maybe 5, 6 minutes each, and you watch the video and then you do the lesson practice and then you watch the next one that talks you through your next set of problems. It is honestly, it's difficult if you 100% just outsource it and you're not watching it. They're just doing it by themselves with their headphones. Like that doesn't work as well. It's still something that you need to be sitting, like it works best if you're sitting next to them, watching it with them, going through it with them. That's the best way. And occasionally we can't even do it that way. We do have to just let her watch it and figure it out. But yeah, it's just all video based. They watch it, they do the problems, and then they watch the next one, and they do the next set of problems, and that's their math for the day. They do have, and we haven't really figured out how to get into this, but they have like community message boards that you can get into that you talk through the lesson for the day with other students. Neither of my daughters have really connected with that, but it is there, and it's available. But yeah, it's a great program. It's just really helpful. And for people that don't love sitting there trying to figure out math by yourselves, like it's great. It's so good.
nice.
We love Nicole.
Nice. I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. And you're also modeling to your kids with you all sitting there and watching with them. The fact that y'all are learning also.
Yes, we are. Especially now, in the beginning, it was like times tables and little word problems where, you got to figure out how many apples go in the basket. But now we're doing stuff that I literally don't know. That I'm like, I'm not sure how to do this. Let's figure it out together. Um,
Yes.
because once the word algebra gets involved, my brain runs away and I have to pull it back. But yeah, it's and that's the other thing too. I feel like a lot of parents get nervous about is they're like they don't want to homeschool because they're afraid that they aren't smart enough. And I'm like, look, I get it. You probably aren't, and that's okay because you will. It's so much better if you're learning with them because you're
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. You're modeling something that most teachers like in a school setting can't really do because they know all this stuff. At least they show that they do. And you got to like when you're learning along with your kid, it actually, as far as we've noticed and seen from other people, like it helps them so much more than just me telling them, this is how you do it. I know how to do it. You should know how to do it. Like learning alongside your kid is a beautiful thing. And it's actually can be kind of fun. It can be frustrating, but sometimes it can actually be fun to like when you both figure it out together. It's a really cool thing. And it's not, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a subject mastered to teach it. You really don't. You just need to know the kid and help them get through the material. You don't have to be an expert in it.
Indeed. Thank you for that
Yeah.
message. Big message. Because you'd be surprised. I talk to parents that are like, they have 5, 6 year olds, and they're already thinking about calculus. And I'm like, yo, you'll get there. And believe me, if that's what he needs,
Yeah.
um, get help for it. Because I like you, I'm not math is not my forte at all. I tell people if I can't use the calculator for it, don't ask me. Don't ask me. My students used to come ask me for help. No, I teach English, love. I teach English. Like I don't
There's
even
no
want to look
words.
at it.
There's no words in this. These are numbers.
I
I don't do
don't even
numbers.
want to look at it.
No.
I don't like how it looks. But yeah, no, I'll also say And it may be a little downplay on college, and people who have earned degrees kind of get like, girl, don't do that. But college does not provide you with all the answers. When you go
No.
into a classroom, baby, you going in there fresh. And you know
Yeah.
what we have? You know what saves the day? Workbooks. Workbooks with
Mm,
all the answers. And
yes.
if not that answer, Google. I
Yeah.
Google everything. Okay. So that's what I had to tell my students early on. Like, baby, I don't have all the answers. Just like my kids know, I don't have all the answers. And I like how my oldest, well, both of them have transitioned from what they used to, did you know, or do you know, and now they say, can we look up? Because they
Yeah.
realize, I don't know. So
Yeah.
let us look it up and let us do it together, because like you
Mhm.
said, like, I want to
Yeah.
learn too. So that was a big message. You do not have to have it all figured out,
No,
love.
you don't.
Know
No.
that.
Mm-mm.
Please do not. um I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that brings me to Homeschool Helper.
Yeah.
Homeschool Helper, what are we doing up there? What kind of videos are you creating?
So right now, and it's been this way for a while. It's like it's basically, with classical conversations, you've got foundations, and you got essentials, and then you got challenge. And foundations is your elementary levels, like first through fifth grade or first through sixth grade, and then essentials is like diving in a little deeper with fourth and sixth grade into writing and a little bit of math, but it's mostly about reading and writing and all that. And then challenge, you've got ninth grade or seventh grade through 12th grade, and they're doing those level kind of things. And so what Homeschool Helper does right now primarily is help those foundations kids walk through their day and understand and help to remember the concepts that they're supposed to be taken in, because most of what foundations is memorization. It's mostly memorizing like your multiplication facts and history sentences and science facts, geography. There's a Bible part in there. There's this wonderful thing called the timeline, which is basically they have this 13-minute song that people just love, and they come. Like I get comments all the time, people coming back like, I haven't listened to this song in years. It brought back so
No.
many memories, but it's like all the way from creation to like I think the last thing in the timeline song is 9/11. I think like it goes all the way through remembering all these points of history, and it's just really cool. And so like when we first started, there's not a lot of like visual help for that kind of stuff. Like it's mostly just reading and memorizing and reciting. And so a lot of the songs that like I would say 90% of the songs that are on there are just brand new. Like nobody's ever seen these before, and they're just me sitting there thinking, how can I help people memorize, um, you know, monocot, dicot, conifer, like the three types of trees? How can I help them memorize that? And so it's just a song, and it just comes out like monocot, dicot, conifer, monocot, dicot, conifer. And you do that for 45 seconds, and then it's stuck in your brain. It's just like really playing on the idea that like songs and melody really help those young brains, if not all brains, but really those young brains lock in on that material. Like my youngest son, he will constantly, there's several songs that are just stuck in his head from there that he will just burst out of nowhere, just singing about the 7 days of or the 7 days of creation, or he's memorized like the different parts of a plant cell, and that song just gets stuck in his head. And we just like we really are like putting all the chips on the table of like songs help kids learn. And so every week, like a foundations kid is supposed to cover 7 different subjects, and there's different material they're supposed to memorize. And so what we've done is if you go to like Homeschool Helper, the YouTube, you go to like week 7, cycle 1, there's going to be all of these videos on a playlist that go through all of these things, and there's a song for every single one of them, whether it's the Latin verb endings, the different geography terms for that week, the history sentence. There's a song and there's visuals, and each video is usually about a minute 15 at the most. And so in about 15 minutes, you can have all of that sort of done. And again, it's best if you're sitting there with your kid watching it and reading and memorizing it along with them. But it can be the kind of thing like we found that a lot of parents, they kind of use it not as their primary source of like, here's your teaching for the day, but like if they need a break, which
Mhm.
so many homeschool parents forget that like you need to take breaks. Like it's a great opportunity to say, hey, go sit and watch the Homeschool Helper for today, and then come back and we'll do your math. Like it's just a great opportunity for kids to sit, and it's usually kind of fun and it's silly. And they watch these things and they get burned into their brain, and like it's just really fun and simple, and it's we found it to be really helpful, especially for homeschool, like first time homeschool parents. I get so many comments and like these long comments where a parent just like wrote a paragraph like, this has been so helpful, we're so grateful, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like first time homeschool parents seem to really need it because yeah, they're not sure how to make their kid help their kids remember all the parts of a plant cell. They're just trying to like wing it, and so this just gives them a good starting point to help them. And a lot of times it's just something that they need to for inspiration for themselves to come up with their own songs that their kids will respond better to, and that's great. But yeah, it's really just meant to be this companion piece that helps people going through particularly foundations. And we're working on new content for essentials. We have some, but we're working on more. And is also challenged. Like that's the cool thing too. Is like I thought, because CC works in 3 cycles: cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, and then they repeat. I just thought we were going to do stuff for those 3 cycles and be done, and it would just sit there and that'd be it. But like we're seeing so much potential with helping kids get through essentials and getting through the all 6 years of challenge. And then like I after that mountain, like we get past that mountain, I'm looking out and like how can I be helpful beyond just CC people, like classical conversations? How can I create things that help people just doing homeschool without classical conversations or other curriculums like that? Like it's this, it just keep the road just keeps getting longer and longer, and I love that because I really like doing it. I love being able to help these families and provide resources that people need and use, and it just brings me so much joy. And so I mean, this feels like a new, like lifelong mission for me. Like I don't ever want to stop. I want to keep making these things that help people because being really selfish, it just makes me really happy. I like it. It makes me feel good to make
Yes.
stuff that people like. It's great.
Nice. I love that. And these concepts that you're covering, how you're covering them, is meant for all ages.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody um, could be using it. Now, CC, like they design it so that it's material that the that elementary age students need and can use. But I mean, anybody that's trying to memorize, like I keep saying it because it's the one thing that pops in my head, the different parts of a plant cell, you need to memorize it. I've got a minute and 15 minute video that'll do it for you. Like you watch it a few times, it's going to get locked in there. It's useful in all kind of concepts for sure. It's just helping people memorize important material.
Through song.
Yeah, through song.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, because the kids remember songs, adults remember songs. We all know
Hmm.
music is like it talks to us in so many different ways. So have you always had a musical background?
Yeah, I grew up. My dad was always like playing music in church, and so there was always, there's always a piano in the house. There were always guitars in the house, and so I picked it up, music stuff, kind of in early high school. Just started playing guitar. I noticed that girls liked it when I played guitars, so I played more guitar, and they really liked it when I played piano, so I figured that one out too. Um, I would say primarily the reason I really liked music was because girls liked it when I played music, and so I did. That's the real true story behind it. And so, of course, that led, to me finding that I could actually use this for good reasons beyond just getting girls to look at me. And so, in college, I got into playing music with my church, and that was really fun. And then it just kind of constantly came up. Like I would get asked to help lead worship for this. I remember the first place that my wife and I really like served in the church was this tiny, like literally 6 or 7 people on a Sunday morning church that we would go and do worship for on Sunday morning, and it was really nice and life giving and fun, um, and so music has just always followed me around, and I love doing it. And so when it came time to do this stuff, like it was strangely easy to do this, like to just put these words into melody. Be, it just wasn't hard. It was easy and it was fun, and I kind of got addicted to it. Like I I wish I could tell you like I worked really hard and it finally clicked, but it really didn't. It was so easy to just sort of let it flow out, and it just worked. It was great. Yeah.
Are you the primary sole writer? Are the kids contributing anything? I know you mentioned we at for a time
My
as
wife
far
and I
as
do a lot of
you and
this
your
stuff
wife.
together.
Okay.
Like she's my camera person. She's a professional photographer, so I kind of lucked out in
Nice.
like and so if ever I'm on camera for anything that I do, my wife is behind the camera telling me not to put my head up. I have this weird thing on camera. I always like to look to my head up. And so put your head down, put your head down. Um, but yeah, she's there with me all the time, and I've tried to get my kids to want to be part of it. They don't want to. They don't think it's that cool as I would have thought it would be when I was their age. They don't care. I think there are a few. I'm pretty sure there's a few somewhere where my son, I convinced him to kind of be in the background, singing with me, but no, for the most part, they don't want anything to do with it. They'll watch it, but they don't want to help me make it.
Okay. I was gonna say, but they utilize it though. They
Hmm.
also they know the songs.
They've all grown up on them for sure, but
Nice.
they don't think it's that cool to make them. Very sad.
Do you have parents reach out and ask you to make certain videos?
Yeah,
Or so
that's the why I because originally it was just the foundation stuff, but like because I got so many comments of people asking me to help put out like essentials stuff. That's why I started doing that, and so now I have a bunch of that essentials content out there as well because of stuff that parents have said. And I do just want to say like I was nervous when I started the YouTube thing about having an open comments section because there's a way when you make a YouTube video to say no comments allowed.
yeah.
And I almost like I'm so glad I did it because it would have changed everything. I almost did it and said no comments because I've always heard how weird and dark comment sections can get. I can tell you that it has only been like a literal handful of times that I've had to delete a comment in all
Hmm.
these years that I've been doing this because 9.9 out of 10 times it's positive, it's funny, and it's just like real interaction. Like, oh, this was interesting. Did you consider doing this? And like, there's actual dialogue that happens in there. There's so much like it's given me life because there's so many positive comments coming from there. Um, it's been a blessing and it's changed how I've done this. If I didn't have comments on, I don't know. Like it would have I probably would have quit already because
Mm.
I wouldn't have had any feedback and the feedback has fueled me because it's been so positive and good. So not all comment sections are evil, I guess.
No, most of them are actually really, really entertaining.
Hmm.
Um, the internet is so undefeated in so many things.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so outside of the YouTube channel, do you provide homeschool help in other areas?
Not yet. I mean, we've talked about this, like how we can do that. Whether it's through like I have a certification in coaching, not like sports coaching, but like like
Life.
yeah, life coaching. Life coaching feels weird, but something like that, basically. Yeah. And so we've talked about the possibility of making both of us available for parents that just need help being coached through how to do this, why they should, or how to get started, particularly with those younger kind of first year, second year homeschool parents, like how we can help them and encourage them. We've definitely thought through that. We're not 100% sure how to do it yet, but we're looking into that for sure. But just beyond, our own home, like I do teach like I mentioned earlier, I teach on Mondays in our homeschool community, and I've been doing that. Um, Man, this is my fifth year teaching in that homeschool group, and that's been great. And I'll be real honest, the main reason I did it, and this isn't very nice, was because I was so bored sitting in those classes. I was like, I can't sit here. I gotta be up front. I can't sit here and do this. This is terrible. So is there? I wish I could be like, I was just so inspired and I wanted to shape young minds, but no, I was just bored and I couldn't sit there and listen. I have to be, and if I'm in a room listening to somebody, I would much rather be up there delivering the information, even if I don't know it. I would still rather be up front teaching it because I just get I get bored in classes.
That is so funny. A teacher is a teacher, I tell you, because I was it's been me my whole after middle school.
Yeah, like
Everything was
what
just
do
like,
you
oh
do?
my gosh.
I'll learn it at the same time. It'll be great. It'll be so much better for everybody.
Yes, I love that. Yes, it is a lot, definitely. So you like a vet though. You have what, 8 years in,
Yeah.
and you have the lovely that's in high school. Is there college talk? Are
There's
we
college
preparing
talk.
for
No,
college?
she has aspirations of being a, at least right now, they change every week, but right now she's wanting
Right.
a large animal vet. That's what she really wants to do. And so, the great thing is like we're able to say, okay, you want to do this? Let's start studying this thing. So we're starting to incorporate like, all right, let's take some time and let's go look at like what it looks like, not just practically, like let's study animal anatomy, absolutely, but we've also incorporated like how do you get a job? Like how do you actually do this? What are the programs you need to go into? And what do some of those classes look like? Like we're right now we're trying to I've actually put in some emails to some different professors um, at like Texas A&M and stuff like that, where they have these programs, just asking questions like, "Hey, what does it look like for a kid to be a large animal vet? What do they have to do? What does that program look like? Is there any specific like stuff that we can be doing now? Like we're already starting that because yeah, she's a freshman in high school and it is coming like a freight train. Uh,
Right.
and then there's also the added bonus of like we're not in a public school or private school system that has a pathway to get into college, so we have to figure that out. And luckily, we're in a community with so many people that have graduated kids and they're doing great, and so we have a lot of people that we can talk to, and we're starting that already. Like, how do we get our kid into college if they don't have a typical high school transcript and all that stuff? And so we're getting into that, but it's coming, man. It's coming. And
Right.
like I do feel like sometimes I feel like I have been doing this a long time, but then, man, there are families that we're good friends with that they're on their like 22nd year of homeschooling
Oh,
because
yes.
they had their first set of kids and then they got bored and had another set of kids, so they like restarted it. So they've got kids in college and they've also got kids in like fourth grade, and we're just like, I hope that we don't do that. I don't want to do that. But I think they're happy. I can't really tell sometimes, but yeah, we're just so blessed in the people around us that have been through it and can help us get through it because we're a little scared about the college thing. Like we want to make sure that we're doing this, and that's going to be for us. We feel like that's kind of the real test. Like, did we make the right decision? Like once we ship them off and say, okay, go into the world, like that's going to be that moment where we're like, all right, did all this stuff that we spent all this and like invested all this time and energy in, did it work? Was it the right choice? Like we're confident that it is, but it's the test, the real test is coming, like once we put it out there,
Indeed.
let's see if this stuff really works. And we're hoping and praying it does, but who knows? maybe, maybe this has all been a big waste of time. I hope
The
not. My gosh.
Nah, but the thing is, it's all an experiment at the end of the day.
No,
But it's either you experimenting or you're letting strangers experiment. So,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, has there been any like I want to go to public school talk?
Oh man, it's come up a lot, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Because we're in a church community, and a lot of those kids they're also in public schools, so like our kids they see it and they know about it. Um, and I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that there were times that like my wife and I would just be so frustrated, like that we were right there, like on the website, like should we just do it, like just give up, put them in public school and just go back to our normal lives. Like it's happened, we've been there, we've gotten real close sometimes, and thank God we didn't do it. But I would say it was more prevalent early on, like those days of trying to teach kids to read were
Mm,
God, they were so hard. Especially when our oldest daughter, we were blessed. Like she's a reader. She picked it up early. It didn't take that much effort to get her there. She figured it out. Our second kid, our middle daughter, that was a struggle. It was a war to get her to want to do it and to get her to actually figure it out. Man, that was hard. And then we had our youngest at the same time learning how to read, and we were doing it for both of them. those were the days that we almost threw in the towel. We were just not sure we could do this. And um, thank God everybody's reading now. And so like that pressure is off of us. But also like our youngest is, we just found out, is dyslexic, and that's been a part of it.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so that's another time where we just recently we had a conversation again, like should we put him in a public school program where he can get consistent help for this? Um, and then, the more we looked into it, we actually went to a school, we talked to some people, and we figured out that what he would be doing is basically being pulled out of class and put on an iPad for 45 minutes doing a special reading program. We were like, that's it? That's what it would be? Just putting him in front of a screen?
Yeah.
Okay, no, we're not going to do that. Um, so there's been moments, and there's been, and up until recently, my middle daughter was like every couple months she'd be like, "Are you sure I can't go to public school? All my friends do this, and it looks so much fun." And there's been, sometimes we'll just have to say, "No, we're sorry, honey. Like I hear you, but we don't think that's what's best for you." Um, and I'm sure it's going to come up again. I'm sure it's going to come up
Of
again.
course.
It's just
Of
such an
course.
attractive thing that they see. Like there's hundreds of kids just hanging out doing school all day, and they don't have to they don't have to like have their parents constantly telling them what to do. And I'm like, yeah, that exists. That's a and we don't like it, and we're not going to send you there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my oldest would have that thought process as far as like what she's seen on TV and whatnot, and be quick to say, "Oh, I want to go to school so I can have a crew and I can be the leader." And I'm
Yeah, yeah.
like,
I'm like,
"Can
and
you
it,
even fight?"
it takes us explaining what a morning would look like to them. Like, oh, cool, you want to do public school? Let's talk about that. So the bus would pick you up
Mm,
around 7:15. And that's about the time that you're still dead asleep every day. And then, you'd get home like with our oldest, like we'd be like, okay, you'd get home around 3:30, and then 20 minutes later, we'd be taking you to dance. And so you'd go straight from that to dance pretty much every day, and then you get home around 9, and then it's homework time. And then about
mm,
11, you'd go to bed, and you'd do the whole thing all over again. And when I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really what kids are doing, though. Like that's
yeah,
really happening for so many kids. Like they are going all day from 7 to like 11. With
yeah,
not like, because if you're in any kind of extracurricular thing, like if you're in band, if you play a sport, like that's your day. You're done. Like that's what you're doing. You're doing school, and you're doing that thing. Don't even get me started on marching band. That is just the craziest thing in the world. These kids are spending hours and hours and hours every day and weekends doing this thing, and I'm like, man, this is your whole life.
yes,
You're
yes. That's
really
why when you were like talking about the like your daughter growing so quickly, your
yeah.
oldest,
Mhm.
how everything was like it's like a freight train, and you're with her every day, like every day. You're spending way
Yeah.
a lot of time with her. And you can just imagine the parents who are sending their children to public school, they look up and their child are, it's like, oh my gosh, you were just 5, you're
Yeah.
15. Oh my gosh, you were just 15, you're 18. Like, it moves quickly,
Really
quickly,
does.
quickly, quickly.
It's crazy.
Eh, oh my gosh. How do you self-care?
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know. Um, so let's see. How do I self-care? I mean, I don't know. We try. We try to find it. Like you think with all this, spare time that we have as homeschoolers, like there'd be time to do it, but man, everybody's so busy too. Like we're lucky that we do get to be with them most of the day. But yeah, I'm not kidding. Like my oldest daughter, she's at dance every day, and except for like Wednesdays and Fridays, and so we're constantly, and her dance is like 40 minutes away. So it's like, who's driving today? Self care a lot of times does tend to be like those pockets of time where I'm just in a car by myself waiting for a kid. Um, and I'm able to just be quiet and silent for a little bit. And then another thing we do every night is we do the it's so stereotypical, but I don't care. The like all the family sits together and we read a book together.
Oh,
That's beautiful. Like right now we're reading The Hobbit together. And my wife does it every night, and that's really nice. Where there's literally nothing else happening and we're just sitting together, and we're going through a book, and that's beautiful. Um, I love our morning, Bible time together. That's really sweet. It's a really good moment for us together. It's just calm and peaceful. And I'm not teaching, which I've learned eventually I had to stop doing. I had to stop being their Bible teacher. And again, do the same thing. Like, well, let's just read together and just talk about it. And I'm not going to like deliver a lesson to you. Like, let's just investigate it together. That's really sweet. But we need to get better at it. The whole
Yes,
taking care of
self-care is a
ourselves.
priority, not an
It is. It is.
option.
You're right.
Yes.
And I would say the same thing to other people, and then I'd pretend like I'm doing it well. But we struggle. We struggle to find it. We struggle to find that time. But we know it's valuable. We know it's needed.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Like maybe we do have more than I think about it. Like, my wife and I have been involved with this thing called the leadership coaching program, which basically a good friend of hers is a therapist that she knew in college, and they offer this coaching program where we go once a month, and we sit all day with other like just adult professionals, and we just kind of unpack our week, unpack what's going on with ourselves, listen to other people, encourage each other, hear a little thing, and it's nice. Like my wife's actually going to do that today. Like it's an all day thing. It's hard because we take ourselves completely out of the mix for a day, but that is another, I guess that's an example of our self care that we go and we do that for a day once a month, all with those great people. And we love that.
Okay.
But we do need to get better at it. We need.
Okay. You said it, not me.
I did. I
Okay.
know. You're right.
All right. And before I let you go, Nick, three things you want parents to take away from this. If they don't hear anything else, hear this.
Homeschooling is not a race. School is not a race. School is not competition. Schooling is learning the beauty of our world so that we become better people. That's what learning and education is all about. Um, that is a big thing for us. Maybe another thing would be homeschooling. You don't have to be an expert. You can homeschool without being an expert. And if you think that you have to be an expert first, you're going to take your whole life to do it. You
Mm,
don't have to be an expert. You can start with nothing and grow together. Um, and number three, maybe is homeschooling is hard. I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you it's easy. It's hard. It's a journey. It's tough. There will be moments where you want to quit, but just stay strong. Lean on your community. Don't try and do it alone. Don't try to do it by yourself. Like do this thing with other people. Be vulnerable. Be honest because it's hard. And it takes to be cliche. It takes a village to do this. So yeah, those are my 3 to 10 things uh, that I said about that I think are really important for homeschoolers.
nah, those are really great.
Yeah.
Really, really great. Always parents. Remember that this is not a journey you have to do alone. Remember that
Mm.
there are so many resources available, so many, so many, so many. And I love to be able to spotlight the many, many resources that are
Yeah.
available on here.
Hmm.
So thank you for tuning in, but understand that the support is there. So don't try to do it alone. That's when you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Yes.
And make sure you make time for self-care because Nick is he's gonna be mindful of this now. He's gonna be like,
Yes.
hey, let me take a
You are
little bit
right.
of couple minutes for myself. Look, couple
Yes.
minutes. Maybe you need to join the middle child out in the sunlight for a little bit,
That's
take
true.
a walk too. But yes, just remember you through this process because you want it to be enjoyable for you also. And check out Nick and his channel because I'm definitely about to put my
Yeah.
girls up there.
Yeah.
Hey, sit down and learn about this plant.
Perfect.
Yes, so I appreciate you and I thank you
Mm.
for the work that you're doing. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank
Of
you, thank you, because it is
course.
needed.
Thank you.
Very much so.
All right.
So parents, homeschool your kids.